Alright, good day and welcome back. Today we are going to upload our first sketch or program to the Arduino and make sure everything's working correctly, and also do a little bit of basic wiring just to get an idea. So I'm going to start by logging into Code, and to do that, sorry, the screen's a little glitchy here. When I log in, I'm going to scroll down past Unit 0. In coding, we usually start counting with zeros instead of 1, which is why we started with Unit 0. But we'll get into that more later when we start doing the coding. So I'm going to go right here under Lesson 1, Blink and LED. And if I click on this, you'll see there's 3 challenges once I'm done. But this will open up a lesson page that'll go into a whole lot of detail about the components we're using and the wiring. The actual components here, I'm going to build this on a DuinoKit system, so I don't have to worry about getting all this stuff together. If you're building it on the loose parts kit, you'll need your Arduino microprocessor. It shows the pictures. We usually show those with the Arduino Uno because that is the most popular Arduino out there that most people get for the starter kit. We are using the Arduino Nano, so I will use that in my software. You just need to know what you're using and how to set that up. Your USB cable, a resistor, LED, breadboard, jumper wires, and we also have some pictures online that will show you that. So read through this information. I'm not going to sit here and read it to you. A lot of people just skip over it, but a lot of that stuff will be tested, and that's where your quiz questions and things will come for in the course. The main thing with LEDs, there's lots of different colors, there's lots of different applications to these, and we're going to show how to hook them up, and we're going to show some little schematics and wiring, and also explain some key functions of your code. So these are the loops or the functions in your code and how they work and operate, and that's what we're going to do right now, is just go down and capture our code. Here is the loose parts connection, the way to wire it. And I'm going to come down here where it says the program, and I'm simply going to capture from here and go down to the end of the code down here. You can actually include that if you want to. Those little slashes in front make it so you can type words in there and comments in your code so you know what's going on. We're going to try and do a lot of commenting as we're learning through this process. And let me then pull up, let me see if I can find my Arduino software. Since I'm running this on a computer, I have the Arduino Ide in here, and I'm just going to pull up that software to work with. The one thing I want to point out to you is your basic sketch. When you open up a new file, if you go to File, New, it will open up a clean basic sketch, and this is the two loops, or the two things that you have. There's a setup loop which runs one time when you run your code, and then there's one called loop. They're actually functions, but there's one called loop, and whatever you put in here, that runs this over and over and over and over. So a lot of times when we start up, we want to declare some variables and do some housekeeping at the beginning, and then we want to run a loop of what we want our software to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to highlight all of this, since I just copied the code from Code, and I'm going to do Control V, and I'm going to paste it in. So I will now have all of my code, and it's slightly spread out. Some people like that, some people don't. I think what we can do is we can go to up here under Tools, we can go to Auto Format, and it will do the indenting and make that look a little bit prettier. Sometimes the indenting doesn't come through from the software. And usually when you write code, you don't put spaces between the lines. That just comes through in the copy-paste module, and maybe we'll figure out how to get that setting changed in the future. And we'll probably, in the future, we won't post all of the code in a copy-paste format. We'll probably just have a download file, so you can download it directly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to confirm over here in Tools. I have my Arduino Nano, and this one seemed to be working on the old bootloader. Sometimes they're different. And the COM port here is still COM port 3. You will probably have a different COM port on your computer. And if you look at your Arduino, on the original time you run it, the first time you run it, if it hasn't been played with too much, it usually has, let me see if I can pull this up here. Yep, it usually has a sketch running and there's a little light blinking already. Just to show you how this works, this light or this LED is built into the typical Arduino, and on the Uno and the Nano it typically runs off of pin number 13. So it's a little indicator light, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a wire from D13, digital 13. You could also come over here and run it off of this part of the board, but I'm just going to take a wire from D13, run it down to an LED on the positive side, which on the DuinoKit, that's on the left side. If you're doing this with loose parts, you need to go with the long wire. There's a long wire and a short wire for the anode and cathode, so you need to make sure you got your polarity. And then what I'm also going to do, I'm going to take a little bit longer wire. By the way, the color of the wires doesn't matter. And I'm going to run this to ground. And you'll see that when I do that, this LED on the DuinoKit will be flashing at the same rate as the one on the board. And that's hooked up to digital pin 13. Well, just to change things up a little bit, on our Arduino code, let me pull this up. Oop. And just a moment here. On our Arduino code, you'll notice we changed it to digital pin 8. No real reason for it, it's just a different pin. And we run that in the top of our program. We had our setup function. Keep in mind every function begins and ends with these little curly braces. If you go next to the curly brace, it will highlight the one that it ends on. So that's a good way to know what you're working with. And we called pin mode, we called it LED pin. Keep in mind we declared LED pin up here as a variable. We set it equals 8. So this is the same as typing in the number 8 here. However, we usually want to declare our variables at the very beginning. So we're going to leave that there. We declared it as an output, which means we're sending data out to it. And then we have our loop down here where we took my digital write, tells me to send data out. I'm writing something out. LED pin high, which tells it to turn it on. Pin number 8. It waits for 1000, which 1000 equals 1 second. Digital LED pin low, turns it off, it waits a second, and then it continues in this loop pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this, and let me see if I can pull up my camera again. When I upload this code, I want to hit the, let me show you this. To upload, turn my camera off. To upload, you have functions up on the top here. This function here is to compile your software. It just codes it, makes sure there's no errors. This button up here with the arrow is what actually uploads your code. And then you've got some save features, and I lost my cursor. This is for a new file, this is to open something, and also to save it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the upload button on my Arduino software, and I just want to show you what this does on my camera. So when I hit upload, I'm obviously a little challenged on this studio software. When I hit upload, oops. It will compile the sketch. I think I should find a way to get both of these on the same screen at the same time. Maybe I'll make another video. And when it starts uploading your code, it will change. These lights will start blinking in a different manner. These lights will start blinking. This is a receive and transmit, and they're blinking now, and you all of a sudden got your new code in there, and you say, well, it's not doing anything. That's because I just told the Arduino here, instead of blinking pin 13 with the built-in board, I want to blink pin 8. So what I'm going to do, just to see if this is working, I'm going to get a little bit longer wire, and I'm going to come off of digital pin 8 on my board. If I didn't get my head under the camera. Okay, wiggle it in a little bit. And when I hook it up here, I should have my light blinking for 1 second and off 1 second. So, with that, I'm going to end this first little lesson. Hopefully you got your code to upload and everything's working okay. And I'll show you on Tinker Code, what we're looking to do next now that we got the code. I'm going to come off of this display and back up for 1 second. So we got it blinking, which is everything that was supposed to do. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to check that box. I got lesson 1 working, so it shows I completed that. And then here's your 3 challenges that you need to do for this assignment. You need to change the timing for the on-off cycle of the LED. So make it blink faster and slower, just tinkering with the code. When you do that, you can check this little checkbox, and that will confirm that you did it. And that's really your method of tracking whether or not you actually did it. Your second challenge will be to make 2 LEDs flash on and off. And now you're going to have to do some wiring and modify your wiring a little bit. And your third challenge is going to be to make the 2 LEDs alternate on and off. So most of our lessons will be combined with 2 or 3 challenges at the end to get you to modify the code and the wiring and get it to operate a little bit different. That's how we're going to learn in the process, is hacking and modifying these little projects and putting them together into larger projects to accomplish different things with our Arduino and learn how it works. So with that, I will let you go, and we will move on to lesson 2 shortly.